You must be a special claimant. Yeah. All right. With a special MedVoc profile. That's what this video is all about. The special MedVoc profiles. You may not even know this, but there is a gap in sequential evaluation. That's right. There is a gap. And that gap is a pretty significant gap. And that gap is covering this area called special medical vocational profiles. Now, as you may or may not know, every case goes through what is called sequential evaluation. It's a 5-step process that a case goes through to determine whether you are actually disabled and able to get SSDI or denied. When you get to step 4 is covering your past relevant work to figure out if you can go back to your past relevant work, the work that you did in the past 5 years before your case got opened. And if the DDS examiner cannot send you back to your past relevant work, then they go to step 5. But hold up, here comes that gap. There's a gap between step 4 and step 5 of sequential evaluation. And here's the gap. It's called a special medical vocational profile. The special MedVoc profile is an unfavorable combination of age, education, and work experience, where the DDS looks at this combination and says, there's no possible way this person can go to work, so we're just going to allow them based on this special profile. They're also called adverse profiles because the combination is so adverse, so severe, to where it just disadvantages a person from being able to go back into the world of work. So that's why these profiles are so significant. The idea behind these profiles is this: the combination is not going to allow a person to make enough of an adjustment to do some other kind of work that they've never done before. So instead of having to do the work of going to the grid or figure out if their skills are transferable, they say this combination is really severe and we're just going to give this person the benefits. So this person won't even get to step 5. They'll be an allowance right in that gap after step 4. There are 3 special medical vocational profiles. I'm going to cover number 2 last because it's a special one of my favorites. Here's adverse profile number 1. It's called the arduous unskilled profile. The arduous unskilled work profile demonstrates a person cannot make the adjustment to other work if they have these certain criteria. First, they're not working at SGA level. You want to know about SGA? Got a link in the description. The second criteria is they have 35 years or more of arduous unskilled work. And by arduous, we're really talking about heavy work. And by heavy, we're talking about a person needs to be able to lift 50 pounds frequently and 100 pounds occasionally. The third criteria is this person has to have a medically determinable impairment. That's where the RFC comes in. And the fourth criteria is that they have to have no more than a marginal education. And by marginal, we're talking about maybe 6th grade or lower. So if you're not working at SGA, you have 35 years of heavy work at an unskilled level, meaning there's no skill required, and you have a marginal education with an RFC that has an MDI, you can meet adverse profile number 1. One example of work that is arduous and unskilled is a construction worker. The basic construction worker is not going to be doing something that has a high level of skill. They may be doing something in the field or at a construction site that doesn't require them having to operate heavy machinery or having to have a specialty such as bricklaying or cement work. Now I'm going to skip adverse profile number 2 and go to adverse profile number 3 right now. Adverse profile number 3 is called the lifetime commitment profile. The lifetime commitment profile shows that this person cannot make enough of an adjustment to do other work because of these criteria. First, as the other ones, they can't be working at SGA level. Second criteria is they have to have a lifetime commitment to some kind of work. And by lifetime commitment, we're talking about 30 years or more, and that work can either be unskilled, semi-skilled, or skilled. But the key to this one criterion is this: if you perform skilled or semi-skilled work, your skills cannot be transferable. In other words, those skills cannot be used and transferred to another kind of work unrelated to the work that you did. Or the skills can be transferred to another job that is related to the same job you did, but maybe not to the same strength level. Or it may not require as much skill than the job you used to do. The third criteria is just like the other one, you have to have an MDI. That's where the RFC comes in. The fourth criterion is you have to be in the closely approaching retirement age category, meaning that you have to be no younger than 60 years old. And then the last criterion is you have to have no more than a limited education. And by limited, we're talking about less than 11 years of formal education. Now we're going to get into adverse profile number 2. Here's adverse profile number 2. It is called the no work profile. The no work profile says that a person cannot make enough of an adjustment to perform some other kind of work if they meet these criteria. The first criterion is you have to have a severe MDI, which is like the other two profiles. You have to have an RFC that shows a severe impairment. But here's where the no work profile is different from the other two. The second criterion is you have no work in the last 5 years. Watch that. No work in the last 5 years. Not too long ago, it was where you had to have no work in ever or in the last 15 years. But the rules have changed. They've been updated. And now, if you have no work in the last 5 years, you could be eligible for the no work profile. But hold up, there's 2 more criteria. The third criterion is you have to be advanced age. In other words, you had to have hit the magic number, and that magic number is 55 years old. And the fourth criterion is you have to have a limited education, meaning no more than 11 years of formal education. The no work profile was a favorite of mine because there were a lot of people who met these criteria. They didn't have a lot of education. They were advanced age, and they had no work history. So it was real easy to get an RFC and then make a determination at step 4 that they couldn't go back to past work because they had no past work. So I would go straight to the profile, and I already knew when I first got the case that this person was going to be a candidate for a no work profile. And when I got to step 4, it was easy pickings after that. Now, these profiles are really important for the DDS examiner to make note of because they don't happen very often, but it is something for them to really key in on and do the work at the beginning of the case to determine whether they are a candidate for one of these profiles, which is why I've always trained examiners and told them, hey, get your work done from jump. When you first take the case, figure out what their MedVoc profile is so that when you get to this point in the case, it's not going to be as much work for you. Now, let me make sure that I'm clear about something. When you have an RFC, that determines that you actually have a severe impairment. So part of sequential evaluation is determining whether your impairment is severe. If you've gotten past step 2 of sequential evaluation, the DDS has found that you have a severe impairment. Now, whether that meets or equals a listing or not, that is determined at the next step, step 3. And if you don't meet or equal a listing, then the next step is still going to show you still have a severe impairment, which if you have these criteria, you're in play for one of these profiles. But you still have to get through step 4 first. So if you have past work, does your RFC combined with your past work keep you from working? Now, if you're still not clear about what the RFC is, I got a video that handles that situation. All you gotta do is click on the link up there and it'll take you right to that video, and I'll see you on the other side in the next video. You gotta be a special claimant, 'cause they got you sitting on top of the pile, sitting on top of the pile. That was nice.